Hello and welcome to our Coffee Talkie show. And today we have a great topic. We're going to talk about your home. Not your house, your home. And what makes it feel like home.
And why is it so important that you make it a home, no matter where you are or for how long you're there? So if you're currently moving abroad, like planning to move abroad, or you already moved and it still doesn't feel home, this episode is for you. So grab your coffee and let's start. Am I on?
Yes, gal.
Yes. Do you feel at home?
Yes, I do. The feeling of a home is there. Yes. How about you?
Yes. And you know, it's funny because, let us tell you this, both of us are in a housing situation that is very not common or normal or
It's complicated.
we are on a very short lease, like every 3 months we are renewing it, and we don't know for how long we'll be here. Actually, no one knows.
Yeah.
So it's a very complicated situation. But one thing we learned over our lifetime, and we'll get into it in a moment probably, is the importance of making a home feel home, making a house feel home as soon as you arrive to a new place, and don't wait. And
I just realized something, and this is what I love about this concept. This is you being present in our conversation because it's not scripted at all. And I just realized something, that I don't love the house that I'm living in, but it does feel home. So those 4 walls or 16, I don't know how many walls there are here. You don't have to love it. You can, and great if you do, but you don't have to love the walls and the floor and the ceiling in order to feel at home in this physical environment. And I've been living in this house for a year and a half now. I still don't love it. Like there are so many things that bugs me in this house, and yet I still feel at home. I feel safe when I'm in this space. And that's very interesting, because how can you not love something and still feel at home?
it's going exactly to where we want this conversation to go today. Is about a feeling. And the feeling is not with regard to the walls you're touching or the furnitures you have. It's about how it makes you feel. Like, you know, when you're going sometimes on summer vacation or winter vacation, whatever, and you go on a holiday and you're going, there's a difference between, like, you have those places that you feel like, I just want to leave here. Like, I don't want to stay here. It doesn't feel right. And then you have those spaces you're like, I could live here. Like, I could stay here for so long because it makes me feel great. Yeah. And this is all about like colors and smells, and we'll get to it in a moment. Like, it makes you feel something.
Yeah.
And I can share with you, like, so really, we moved so many times in our lives. Actually, we moved way more times apartment and houses than we relocated. I think
we moved I think every 3 years.
Yeah.
This was the rhythm of our moves.
Yeah. I think the longest that I ever lived in a house was 5 years in a row. That's the longest I ever lived in a house.
For me, it's like the last house was more than that.
Yeah.
But before that, it was like sometimes for 10 months, sometimes for a year and a half.
But it's funny because this is like We're telling it to you a lot on our different episodes. We are very adapted to change. We love change. We embrace change. And changing houses was a very natural thing to us. But one of the things we learned from a very young age, and I saw it happening again and again as an adult, is this idea that as soon as you get inside a new place, you make it a home. And I can even share with you a funny story about when I moved to London for the first time. So the first time I moved there, I wasn't going for student accommodation. I was going for a madhouse. And it's a different story. But I found myself going to live with a couple of friends, including my ex at the time, in this house all together. And it was a furnished house. So it's like different because you don't need to, but those things didn't feel like home to me. Like, it's not my bed, it's not my closet, it's not my table, nothing was mine. And I remember in the first week, I told my ex at the time, I was like, I'm going shopping and I'm going to make our room, because I cannot make everything else because I need to like consider other people, but I'm gonna make our room a home. And long story short, it was way more complicated, but I was like, this place will have to feel a little safe to me. I need to have a couple of things that makes me feel good. And it could have been like, I remember I went to get a cup. So I had a mug for like my coffee. And I remember putting a mirror that I picked. And I remember getting new, bed linens and cushion and a blanket and stuff like that made me feel home. And everyone looked at me like I'm a fucking weirdo. Like, why are you investing in a house that you don't know how long you're gonna stay? Like, we knew that we're there at the max for a year. I actually stayed there for 4.5 months. And they all laughed at me the first 2 weeks. They were like, why are you investing money, time, energy into creating this place a home? You don't care. And I was like, because this is where I go to sleep every night. This is where I wake up every morning. And I want to feel at home. And as much as they made laugh at me in the first 2 weeks, after 2 months, they all done the same. But it took them 2 months. And when they started doing that, I already felt so much better about the place. But they were still struggling about it. And I think that's what we're trying to tell you today. Like, the importance of making it quick.
Yeah, and we'll get
to giving you
tips. Like always, we always want to give you, practical tools and actions you can make today. It's about now. Life is now, right? So we are going to give you those 3 tips later on. But before, it's really important for you to understand why this feeling of a home is really, really important. You mentioned feeling safe in a place. You move abroad, everything changes around you. Everything. You need like a home base to feel comfort, to feel good, to feel safe. You need that to recharge again. It's like you go, everything is chaos outside, but then you come back home, you close the door, and everything is okay. Right here in this physical space, it's your kingdom. You can do whatever you want, be whatever you want, feel whatever you want. And even if you're not living alone, like even if you're with a partner, with your kids, that's your kingdom, be a queen here. And it's really, really important because, like we say it a lot, living abroad, it has so many challenges, so many unknowns, so many things that are not comfortable, not certain, hard. And you gotta balance it back if you wanna enjoy this life, because otherwise imagine if you're going outside, having hard time, bureaucracy, job, different culture, other people that you can speak to. Then you come back home and you say, I hate this place. I don't have any place, to have my privacy, to put my head down late at night and, recharge. If you don't have that, how can you, go for another round the day after and the day after? And you gotta do that.
Yeah. And there isn't even like this tiny phrase of like going to work and then say, I'm headed home. So you're using this. Or you're going to see your friends and then say like, okay, mates, done for tonight. I'm going back home. And then you open the door. And if it doesn't feel home to you, you get frustrated. And as Mayan just said, you need to open the door and feel like you put a plug inside, like a charger inside of the plug, and just charging yourself back. You need to feel like you can be yourself in this place, 100% yourself. You're bringing new cultures, new ways of thinking. Yeah, like you cannot do everything you want outside. You have an external world, but between those walls, it's your entire life. You can do whatever you want there, whatever you want. It's limitless, and it's all yours. And even if
even if it's really tiny.
Yeah. and I can tell you, like, we'll share maybe a couple more stories. I designed my student accommodation. It was 9 meter squares. And my room was the only one different than 800 rooms in this building. Or maybe Maria's was different as well. Like, she was like me. But, it's about deciding that you make it home. And maybe the first thing then you need to understand is what makes you feel home.
Yeah. And I just wanted to mention before that maybe those people that don't want to go home because they don't feel at home. Mm-hmm. So they stay late at night working. So they always, they don't invite you to come to their home. They're always, let's meet at your place. Let's go out. And they don't want to go back home because something there doesn't feel good for them, doesn't feel at home. And it can be, a bad relationship or, a lot of things, a bad surrounding.
I'll share with you something that when I used to live in Tel Aviv, my place was a home. I had a 35 meter square, so we're not talking like big houses, but it felt home, and it felt home to me, but it felt home to all of my friends. They loved to crash at my place. And I remember at some point asking one of my friends why she's never inviting me to hers. Never. It never even was an option. And she said to me very clearly, she's like, I hate this place. I feel more at home at your place than at mine. And I asked her, why are you not making it a home? And we had this exact conversation that we're having with you right now, because she said to me, yes, but it's a temporary thing. It was after I got divorced. I knew I'm not going to stay there. I wouldn't not invest in new furnitures because I will do that when I move to a new place. I will do this, maybe when this and that. She lived there for 4 years. 4 years. She hated the house she lived in. She didn't like the smell. She didn't like the colors. She didn't like the decoration. She didn't like the furniture. She hated her kitchen. She hated everything. She never, I'm still friends with her. I've never been to her house. Not even once. Because she was ashamed of where she lived. And it took her a month to acknowledge that. But no matter what I said to try and convince her, she was like, no, I'm gonna move soon. And I was like, no, you're not. You're not. And for now, what you're creating is a place you don't like being. So, and life is happening.
Feeling at home is a feeling. So maybe, right now, think of the places that you just, you step into the door and you feel at home. Maybe it's your own place, or maybe it's your parents' place, maybe it's your friend's place. I remember my husband, when he got first, when we were, just started dating, he came to our house, to my parents' house, and he told me, I feel at home here more than in my own house, like at my parents' house. And for years it was like this, he always felt at home. And how do I know he felt at home? Because he immediately he takes off his shoes and, sit on the couch with his legs on the couch. Like, you immediately feel at home. So think about it right now. Where do you feel at home? Sometimes, there are even restaurants or cafes that you enter and, everything is okay. You can just lie down and it's all good, and it's a feeling, okay? And it's very, very personal.
Yeah.
For everyone, it's a different place and a different, surrounding that makes you feel at home. So think about this, and, do you want to share another?
Yeah, we can share what makes us feel home.
Yeah.
But before that, maybe I'm really inviting you to think, as my aunt said, because a feeling is something that is not arguable. It's yours. Like, you feel it. And it can be with regard to temperature. It can be with regards to senses. It can be with regards to memories. It can be with a lot of things. But really, try and be honest with yourself. Where do you feel home? What makes it a home to you? Because we all live in houses or apartments or boxes. You can call it whatever you want. Tents. You always have like something that, unless you're like laying down on the beach somewhere without a roof over your head, from the moment you have a couple of something that surrounds you physically, it can be a house, but it doesn't necessarily makes it a home. But you have those places for sure that makes you feel home. And I want to try and think about the common thing between those because it's really important.
I have just thought of something else interesting. Wow, this conversation really brings... You said memories. And last year, a couple of months, like all last year, we, after our grandfather passed away, we just started to empty his apartment. And when we felt at home there for years. They lived in this apartment 30 years, more 35 years,
yeah.
And it always felt home. And there's a smell there that felt, comforting, and the carpets and the sofa and, the furniture,
the plates, because it came with memories, every time we touched something, it was like, oh, remember that grandma we used to take to do this, and oh, remember we've had this. So,
and what I wanted to say is, the more every time we entered that, so there was nobody home, only the physical things. And the first time it still felt like home, and the second time as well. And the more we took things out, this feeling got out as well, until it was an empty apartment, and then it wasn't home anymore. It's the same place, but it wasn't home. It was just an apartment.
And it's funny because I really remember, I think there was the first time we went back there after grandpa passed away, and I sat on this swing chair that actually I got to take to my place, but I sat there and I couldn't do anything. I was just there and be like, this is wrong, this is home, and this is wrong, this feels wrong, and I don't know what to do with myself in this place, because all I want is to just cry or whatever. You feel home, and you don't want to start emptying it and looking at stuff. Like I didn't, for sure. I remember really sitting there and be like, this is wrong. And of course you have to keep on going. But I remember somewhere a midway.
Yeah.
It wasn't the house was not empty. Because actually we haven't got to the place where it was completely empty. We just saw a video of it.
Yeah.
But when halfway, when we started selling stuff away and we like put so much things to the garbage, and I remember one of the time we went back like to do another round of cleaning and stuff, I looked at the place and I was like, the smell was gone.
Yeah.
The smell was gone. The character of the house was gone. Their presence was gone. And then it wasn't, and then it was so much easier to say like, okay, well, whatever. And then I remember someone came in and I don't know what they took. I don't remember. And they took something that I had a memory with, and they were like, oh, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, we're just getting rid of everything at the moment. Just take it. And I remember being like, yeah, it became back, that's, I think, where you understand a lot of like Disney movies are making, like, you have the furniture, you have the walls, they're nothing. They don't have any emotion, they don't have any character, they don't have a personality until you attach something to it. So a chair is a chair, but when it's a home, this chair is memory, this chair is a hug, this chair is a feeling, this chair is like something you build things on. And then it becomes something else. But the moment you detach the emotions from it, it's still a chair.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. So it's easy to attach an emotion to, a furniture or even a house. And it should be easy to detach as well and to move on from this, because a chair is just a chair, a table is just a table.
But in this way, then, when you move abroad, I hear so many people saying, I don't want to do this because it doesn't feel right, and it's not my bed, and it's not my table, and it's not... Make it yours. Attach the feeling to it. Make it what it's good for you.
Create the memories.
You will detach. I'm not a materialistic person, and I think you aren't as well. Like, I'm easily detaching from things, and I'm not like... I really don't like having too much stuff, and I don't buy a lot of stuff. But whatever I have, make it yours. And the way to do it, I think, is by attaching emotions or memories to things.
I love that. And it's really a great way to create a feeling of a home, is by attaching your own emotions, your own memories, creating new things, with this physical thing. So it might be a plate or a house, a chair, a table, a glass. It doesn't really matter. The thing is that those emotions and those feelings are yours. Put them, in this physical space.
And I don't know how, if you can relate to this, but this last move, so 2.5 years ago, when I moved from Israel to Paris, I had to get rid of a lot of my stuff. And it was the first time in my adult life that I owned everything that was inside of my house. I used to live up to this house only in furnished houses, so it wasn't my fridge, it wasn't my bed, it wasn't my sofa. I would get stuff from everywhere. But this house in Tel Aviv was the first one that everything that was inside of it was mine. And suddenly I decided to move to France, and I couldn't take anything out of there. I did take 8 suitcases, but I was like, I really will take only the necessity, because the bed is a bed, and a sofa is a sofa, and it's not mine anymore. I sold it. And that's how in movies, you see like the soul detaching from the body, but the soul is still there. I detached. It's like I said, like, cut. The sofa becomes a sofa again, but the memories of me on the sofa are still in my head. The images that I had, the feelings that I had, they're still part of it. But this place is not my home anymore.
Yeah.
And this sofa is not my sofa anymore. But so it's like you put a soul into the physical things, and then you take it out when you move from it.
And it sounds easy, simple to do it, but actually it's a process. It takes time, and when moving abroad, those changes, it's hard to detach yourself from one place. And especially if you're not moving from one home to another home, you're moving from a home to nothing. Sometimes you're moving, to a hotel or to Airbnb apartment, or you're arriving to an empty flat, and it doesn't feel home at the beginning. So it's hard. So you still feel at home in the one that you just left. And it is hard for me. It took me time. This last move, it was the hardest. Like, honestly, it took me a lot of time to detach myself from the memories that I created. And I just read that the home where you had kids is the hardest to detach yourself from, because there are so many memories, in this home, the first step of my kids, the sleepless nights, the labor that I went in, it's all there. And now it's just, it's somebody else's home. It's like even worse. And in order to detach yourself from this and to recreate it, or to create something new in a new place, it takes time. And for that, we really want to help you and to give you tips on how to do that in a way that actually suits you and is beneficial to you, because it's really important to do this shift. And the quicker you do it, the better it is, because if you're living in one physical place, not feeling at home in it, and always, longing for this other place that you left behind, living in your past, you're living in your past, and it's so hard. Life is now. We say it all the time. Be present and enjoy the present, love the present, you in the present, and your surrounding in the present. This is so important.
And we say it a lot in different ways, but life abroad is the mix of all the challenges that you used to have, or that you usually have, with an extra layer of challenges of being a foreigner, an expat, whatever you want to call yourself. Don't make it harder on yourself. And a home is one of the things that, in our belief at least, makes it even harder. Like, it's like you have this layer of challenges, you have this expat layer of challenges, and then I have nowhere to be and nowhere that I feel safe, and this is making it. Everything else feels harder, because as you said in the beginning, and I think that's the key message here, you're going to face a lot of things. You're going to talk to a lot of people. You're going to experience a lot of things. Some good, some bad. That's life. But if you don't have a place to come back to that feels like you can be totally yourself, that you can cry, you can smile, you can shout, you can do nothing, you can do a lot, you can dream, you can accomplish, you are like surrounded in this place that makes you feel good, then all the rest are gonna feel harder. And so that's why I think that's super, super important. And the first thing, like, we get 2-3 tips to how to make it feel at home for you. But before that, really, I invite you to take the time to think what makes you feel, and it's about the feeling, the emotion, the sensation in your body, home. And, there's this like big quote, home is where the heart is. Home is where family is. I used to have them on my wall as well. Home is what you decide it to be. And
actually, it doesn't have anything to do with geographic location.
No. And we say it, we have another episode about it, and if you haven't listened to it, go and listen or watch it, about like people traveling to their original country saying, I'm traveling home, so what does it make about the place you're living in right now? It's really confusing when you're an expat. Mayan said it perfectly. Life is now, right now, this specific moment. Make it a home. And should we go to 3 tips?
So 3 tips for you to, maybe you can write it down, just after you just wrote yourself what makes you feel at home. Now write 3 tips of how you're going to make this feeling
home. Yeah.
So number 1 is make it now. Make it fast. The sooner you get into a new space, new apartment, new house, new tent, whatever you want, make it a home. Okay, right now we see so many people waiting, not everything is already here. We are still having box shipped from I don't know where. But this, as the minute you enter your house, begin to make it a home and make it quick. Okay, and what does it mean make it quick? And this is something we got from our own experience. This is what we learned at home with our parents. The minute we enter an apartment, like you paint the walls, you put your furniture, you put picture on the walls, frames on the walls, you put flowers, you put everything in the cabinets, you store everything, you organize everything. No boxes left, around the house. Very, very quick, like a day or 2.
Yeah, and
you work hard, but you do it.
And I can tell you that, like, again, we shared that we are currently living in a very weird housing situation. I knew when we got the opportunity to live here that it's temporary. I didn't know how temporary it is. Funny enough, we're here for a while now. But when I entered, I remember my friends being like, why are you investing so much time in making it like nice to you? And I painted all the walls, and I bought furniture. It was empty, and changed the
it wasn't empty.
It wasn't empty. Actually, I emptied it. I worked a lot on emptying it. True. And I painted everything and changing the lighting and like doing a lot. I worked here a lot for a couple of weekends. I had to do a lot of renovation here. And everyone around me, besides you and our parents, because they understand, told me like, why are you doing that? Like, that's a waste of time, money, energy. You should not, like, you're only going to be there for a couple of months. Actually, don't even move there. Because then what's the point? And I remember telling, like, even if I have 3 weeks in this place, I want to feel home for 3 weeks. And I'll make whatever I need to in order to feel home for 3 weeks. Yeah. And that's what we're telling you about the make it fast and make it now. Because we see so many expats and so many friends of us that live for months with boxes in their living room, in the bedroom, that like you go inside their place and you're like, this feels weird.
Yeah, it doesn't feel at home. And we all have those, pictures on the wall, and you say, yeah, I'm gonna put it later. I don't know if I'm able to do that. Maybe I'll ask for help. I'll call someone to help me. And months, years after, the picture is still, on the floor waiting to be hung on the wall.
Because it's a
if
fact.
You don't do it
now.
Fast,
you don't do it.
You don't do it. You never put the shelf on the wall. You never take the books out of the box. You never do it. So as you enter a new apartment, you do it fast. Make it a home fast. Unpack quickly.
Yep. Very important.
So that's the first tip.
Yeah. The second tip that we have for you is use all your senses.
I love this.
I love this. Use all your senses. And what do we mean by that? So we asked you earlier to think about what makes you feel home. but a feeling usually is very much related. As we said, like you put things into, you detach an emotion or you put an emotion in it. It's related to senses. It's what we smell, it's what we touch, it's what we see, it's what we hear. And
you don't have to taste the home, but you could.
You could. And that's like, actually, you know, it's even bringing like this tea thing or your coffee machine. When I unpacked my Nespresso machine, I was like, yes, this is part of it. So really think about all those senses and what is important to you, what makes you feel home with each and every one of those senses. Yeah. So you make sure you do it again now as fast as possible, but make sure you have all the senses really much present.
Something really interesting that I found out a couple of years ago, and I use it since. A lot of time when people are trying to sell their houses, so real estate agencies or even private people, like a very good tip that they give them, if you want to sell your home as a home, because people buy a home, then you can bake a cake and have a smell of a cake and smell of fresh coffee, for example, or smell of fresh linens, something that makes this house feel homey. Or, you know, if it's a family house, then if you have the smell of a fresh, you know, warm apple pie, for example, then suddenly when someone enters, it feels, ooh, I can create a family here in this house. I can have a family home in this house. Or, you know, and smell is really attached to feelings and sensations. So, and I gave this tip to a good friend of mine when she actually sold a house. I told her, and it's a really good tip. You prepare coffee, you know, and you put it in the oven. Okay, like a mug of coffee in the oven. At a low temperature, you open the door of the oven, so it always smells like
steam
fresh coffee. If you put a drop of vanilla inside, it also makes it, you know. And then when people enters the room and the house, it smells so good, and it's a great feeling. It's a feeling because, you know, in your head, this your smell is attached to an emotion, is attached to a memory you have. And so smell is a really, really quick solution for making a house feel home. Yeah. So find your smell, you know, it can be coffee, vanilla, fresh, you know, citrus, lemon. I really love grapefruit. Really, it's so fresh, and that's my favorite smell. I use essential oils. I love it. It feels, you know, so fresh. And so that's for smell. You know, there's the whole feng shui, you know, Chinese philosophy of how you arrange your house, because the energy flows in a certain way, and, you know, the texture you use, there's wood or, you know, metal and fire and water. It has all the elements. You can go read about it online. I'm not here to speak about feng shui, but again, it's how you arrange the house to make it a home.
Yeah. And as we said, like I said, pictures,
so that's what you see.
And it's like what you touch, so the fabric that you're using. And, you know, one of the things we love is we love painting walls. So true, right now everything is white in my place because I needed to clean it out from what was here before. But usually, like, I love to put colors in because this makes me feel alive. I'm really into colors. But so it's about finding
also music.
Music, yeah. And, you know, generally speaking, when you do all that, you know, creating this memory of making a house a home, put a music on.
Something that you
love. Yeah, that makes you feel great. It makes you feel excited. It's true for when you're packing before you move, and it's true for when you're unpacking and creating this new place at home.
Yeah, so really use all your senses.
Yeah. And so we had the first tip, just to recap for you. First tip was make it fast, make it now. Don't wait. What you're waiting for will never happen. That's like honestly guaranteed. Okay. The second thing is use all your senses when you create a house, a home. The third tip that we have for you is don't look for perfection.
I have a great story with this one. When my first daughter was born, I was living in an apartment that was rented at the time, and we had this light on the ceiling that I hated. I really hated it. So one day, out of craziness, after giving birth, I just said to my husband, "You take that down now, because I hate it. I don't like how it looks. Take it down." And he was scared, so he took it down. But then he said to me, "But
it's dark.
It's dark now. We don't have any light in the living room." I said, "I don't care. I just hate it. I'll find something that I love." And I didn't. So I knew what I wanted, but I couldn't find the perfect lamp that I was looking for, that I had in my head. I couldn't find it. I looked online, I looked on the stores, and for a month and a half, we were sitting in a dark living room. Okay, so it doesn't feel it feels romantic sometimes, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel homey. Okay, so he told me after a month and a half, "Listen, I love your craziness, but we need a lamp right now. We're going now to IKEA and we find the one that suits you. It's not about perfection. It's not your dream lamp. Maybe it doesn't exist, but now we need the light right now." So he took me to IKEA with a little baby and he said, "Choose whatever you want, but now you're choosing now. Remember, make it fast now." And then I bought a lamp. To tell you that it was a perfect lamp, no. And I kept on looking. I actually haven't found it yet. We moved since, but we had light.
You didn't sit in the dark for 5 years.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, sometimes it's okay to look for the things that makes you feel at home, that makes you feel good, but don't look for perfection, because perfection doesn't exist. It's an illusion.
And especially, again, it doesn't serve you to
sit in the
dark. Or like, I have friends of mine that have this amazing new place, and they have an amazing place for a dining room, but they haven't found the dining table.
Or the chairs.
So it's an empty space. So you go in and you see the space and you're like, what was supposed to be here? And like, a dining table. And did you buy it? Like, is it on delivery? No, we haven't found it yet. So the place is gonna stay weirdly empty until
it's never empty. It's like it becomes
a place
to,
where you put
storage.
No, because it's literally in their living room. Like, you have like empty floor. Like, it's like you put a mark on the floor. Like, here is a table, and I'm like, no, but it's not there. So the thing is, at some point, it doesn't serve you. And everything we share with you here on our podcast and our Instagram and everything we believe in is to do things that serves you best. Okay, I'm not about changing stuff immediately. We're in a very consumption. We consume way too much in this world. But I'm not into like changing too quick. But find something, make it work for you. When you find something else, give it away to charity, what you got before, make someone else happy and get whatever. Sell it, find a solution. But for now, you need a table, you need light, you need a bed. Get it. Because this idea of it has to be perfect will literally kill your home. Because you will always feel like, I still haven't got it, right?
Yeah.
It's still not that.
And make it work for you. Make it work in your favor. So it's not the perfect lamp. So what? But so put it in a place that it's not, in your face all the time and you don't see it all the time. But it has a purpose. It makes light, and yeah. I'm not going to go, into design philosophies and, less is more and function form. It's about function. A lot of those things are about function. And like you said before, like Gal said before, attach an emotion to it, This lamp for me was about, my husband getting like, you got to make a decision, honey. It's right now. It's about the function, and it's a funny story now as well. So attach those emotions, attach those memories. Even if it's a funny story, make laugh of yourself. Go ahead. That's really healthy for you. And it's okay. So it doesn't have to be amazing, perfect. It has to serve a purpose and have you make it feel something.
Yeah,
you know?
and you know, I'll share with you something. So back, I think it's like about 10 years ago now, when I first moved to Israel, I was broke. I had no money, and definitely not money to buy furnitures and do stuff like that. And my house couldn't feel home because I had a couple of tiny furnitures in the place that came with the house, but then it was empty, and it was, and I am in a very, I still, maybe more today than before, but I don't believe you need a lot of things, but you need a couple of things like to make it fit. And I remember walking one day from my work back home, and again, we're talking about the first couple of weeks there, and I saw this like huge wooden thing in the street, and I was like, no idea how I'm taking it, but I'm taking it. And I looked at it and I was like, it doesn't look too bad. It's not my taste. It's not what I wanted. I would have never buy it. Well, let's take it. And I just took it home. It was so heavy. And I remember I was like, okay, I don't have money to buy a furniture, but I can buy paint. And I spent a couple of like days to clean it and repainted it. And then I looked at it and I was like, not that bad. It's not what I wanted, but it does the work. It I needed something here, and because I repainted it, it's not that bad.
Yeah, and we also love DIY.
Yeah, we love DIY, but again, it also attached a story to it, because it was like, yeah, and those DIYs sometimes. Funny story, the same house, right? Really complicated house. I looked for tiny furniture in IKEA. We love IKEA. Not sponsored in any way. I looked for a tiny furniture things that I could put my toaster oven on. But honestly, I spent 3 hours there. My father almost killed me on that day because he was like, girl,
he hates IKEA.
He hates IKEA, but it was like, make a choice and let's get out of here. And I was like, there's nothing perfect for what I'm looking. It's not the right height. It's not the right size. It's not the right depth. It's not the right color. It's not, there's nothing right. And then he reminded me, because that's, again, something, I was like, it's not about perfection. Make something that is useful. You currently have a need. You need light. You need something to put your toaster oven on. I actually got a furniture from the bedroom department to put in the kitchen because it suits me better. And I was like, great, works. Make it useful for you.
Yeah,
find solutions.
Be creative, And again, remember those things. A chair is just a chair until you attach an emotion to it, a feeling to it, a memory to it. So it might not be the perfect chair, but when you attach your emotions to it, then it will be yours and it will make you feel at home.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the 3 tips that we have for you today about how making a home feeling in your house. And it doesn't really matter if you haven't moved yet and you're going to make a home abroad, or if you already moved and you don't know how to do that, or even if you're living in an apartment for a year or 2 already and it doesn't feel at home. It's not too late. It's not too late. Your life is now. Make it now. Use those tips now. And remember, before using your tips, you gotta know for yourself what makes you feel at home. So you got some homework to do today.
Yeah. And share with us. Yeah. We'd love to hear from you. What makes you feel at home? And we'd love to connect. So just type us, comment somewhere in here in between, and let us know.
We really hope this is valuable to you. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel or to our podcast. And so you'll get, more of this, more and more.
More and more. That's what we have. We wish you an amazing week. Go make your house a home. It's time.
Yes.
See you.